In early drug discovery, LC-MS is often the most relied upon analytical tool. It confirms identity, estimates purity, and supports rapid SAR cycles. But designing LC-MS strategies for discovery requires a very different mindset than what UD find in development. Why is that? Let's dive in. At the discovery stage, the absolute primary goal is fast turnaround. Medicinal chemistry moves at an incredible pace, and the analytical workflows simply must keep up. But here's the challenge. You need to maintain essential confidence in your data while moving at that speed. This means the LC methods we use in discovery are not intended to be fully stability, ready for regulatory submission. Their job is to answer immediate, critical questions. Is the compound I think I made actually present? Is it reasonably pure? Are there any obvious liabilities that I need to be aware of right now? It's about getting quick, actionable answers. To achieve this speed, UPLC systems, or ultra-performance liquid chromatography, are often preferred over traditional HPLC because they offer much faster runtimes, higher resolution, and better overall throughput. This allows you to analyze more samples in less time. Of course, traditional HPLC might still be used for specific reasons, like compatibility with existing methods, or for its sheer robustness. But for raw speed, UPLC typically wins out in a discovery setting. Now, let's talk about the trade-offs that come with this need for speed. Faster gradients are a common way to reduce cycle time, which is great for throughput. However, this can increase the risk of coelution, where multiple compounds come off the column at the same time. The key here is finding that sweet spot, balancing the separation efficiency you need with the absolute necessity for rapid decision. You're not looking for a perfect separation of every single tiny peak. You're looking for a good enough separation to make a confident call and move on. On the other side of the equation is the mass spectrometer. The MS detector configuration needs to be optimized for sensitivity and reliability, especially when you're running samples. One of the most common approaches in discovery is using a single quadrupole mass spectrometer. It's fantastic for rapid screening and confirming the molecular weight of your target compound. Occasionally, if there's a question or an ambiguous result, you might turn to higher resolution instruments for more definitive confirmation. But the single quad is the workhorse. One of the biggest gremlins in any LC-MS workflow is ion suppression. This is a frequent and often frustrating issue in discovery. When your sample matrix is complex, or you have impurities that coelute with your main compound, they can interfere with the ionization process in the MS source. This reduces the signal intensity of your compound of interest and can seriously mislead your interpretation of purity. You might think you have less compound than you actually do, just because something else is getting in the way. This leads directly to another common pitfall: recognizing false low purity signals. A weak MS signal does not always mean you have a low concentration of your compound. It's crucial to remember that it could be reflecting a poor ionization efficiency or ion suppression, rather than a true chemical impurity. You have to be a bit of a detective and consider the whole picture, not just the intensity of one peak. Don't let the instrument trick you into thinking your beautiful compound is impure when it might just not be ionizing. Well, under those specific conditions, so how do we get a quick and reasonably accurate assessment of purity? In discovery, workflows often rely on a combination of UV area % from the chromatogram, paired with MS confirmation of the main peak. The UV detector gives you a quantitative estimate based on how much light the compound absorbs, while the mass spec confirms that the peak you're measuring is, in fact, the compound you want. This two-pronged approach provides a fast, practical estimate of purity while maintaining that all-important structural confidence. However, you need to be aware of the limitations of relying solely on UV for purity. UV detection can be misleading in a couple of ways. First, it can underestimate impurities that lack a strong chromophore, the part of the molecule that absorbs UV light. If an impurity doesn't absorb light at the wavelength you're monitoring, it's essentially invisible to the detector. Conversely, UV can overestimate purity if different compounds happen to coelute under a single chromatographic peak. The detector just sees one big lump and reports it as such. This is why mass spectral confirmation provides such critical identity assurance. Even in the most rapid workflows, taking that extra second to confirm the molecular weight of your main peak is non-negotiable. It drastically reduces the risk of misassigning your structure-activity relationship, or SAR, data. Imagine building a whole hypothesis around a compound that turns out not to be what you thought it was. Confirming the mass prevents that nightmare scenario and keeps the project on the right track. As your project progresses, there will be specific triggers that tell you it's time to escalate the analytical rigor. When a compound starts showing really strong activity, gets nominated for more complex secondary screening, or is approaching the point of candidate selection, that's when you need to dig deeper. The quick and dirty discovery methods are no longer sufficient. At these key inflection points, you need more detailed, robust data to support bigger decisions. At the same time, it's critical to avoid overengineering your methods too early in the game. Developing overly complex, time-consuming LCMS methods for every single compound in a new chemical series will grind your discovery engine to a halt. It slows down the iterative cycle of design, make, test, and analyze, often without providing any better decision-making quality at that early stage. The goal is to be fit for purpose, not to create a perfect analytical package for a compound that might fail in the next assay. So, the strategic principle that ties this all together is achieving speed with confidence. The goal of a discovery LCMS strategy is not perfection. It is to deliver reliable, trustworthy information fast, enough to support the rapid-fire decisions that medicinal chemists need to make every single day. It's a pragmatic balance between scientific rigor and project velocity. In discovery, LCMS is fundamentally a decision-enabling tool. When it's designed correctly, it provides both the speed you need to keep pace with synthesis and the structural confidence you need to trust your results, all without slowing down the scientific progress. In the next episode, we'll explore impurity profiling in early programs and discuss which truly matter before you start thinking about IND. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more insights.